The Bible gives us this incredible, detailed picture of Jesus' birth and then a powerful record of his 3-year ministry. But in between, there's a huge 18-year gap, a profound silence. I mean, one minute he's a 12-year-old kid in the temple, dazzling religious scholars with his wisdom, and the very next time he shows up in the narrative, he's a 30-year-old man getting baptized in the Jordan River. That's an 18-year hole in the timeline, a divine mystery. So, why would God hide the most important person in all of history for nearly 2 decades? This holy hush has, of course, led to all sorts of wild speculation, creating a puzzle that has fascinated theologians for centuries. But the truth of why God kept Jesus under wraps for those years is more powerful than any legend, and it holds a powerful message of hope for you. And for me, especially if you feel like you are stuck in your own season of waiting. Look, humanity hates a vacuum, and when the Bible goes quiet, our imaginations tend to run wild, trying to fill in the blanks. For centuries, people have tried to plug those 18 missing years with some pretty fantastic stories, all because we are not comfortable with the unknown. We want every piece of the puzzle. Probably the most popular theory is that a young Jesus traveled to the east. This idea took off in the 19th century thanks to a Russian journalist who claimed he found a hidden manuscript in a Tibetan monastery. Now, according to this text, a guy named Isa, supposedly Jesus, went to India and studied with Hindu and Buddhist monks before heading back to Judea. You get this picture of Jesus as a kind of spiritual seeker backpacking across the East to soak up wisdom before his big debut. Some versions of this theory even claim he survived the crucifixion and is buried in Kashmir. Other legends place him in Britain, suggesting he traveled there with his great uncle Joseph of Arimathea, who was supposedly a tin trader. Then there are theories he spent time with the Essene community near the Dead Sea. These tales of exotic trips and secret masters are definitely captivating. They're an attempt to give the silence a storyline. Now, these tales are fun to think about, but there's a huge problem. For all their intrigue, there is zero credible evidence to back them up. Mainstream Christian scholars and historians have widely rejected these ideas, often tracing them back to modern hoaxes or much later legends. You see how stories try to dilute the miracle of Jesus. Archaeologists have found no manuscripts, no contemporary records, and absolutely no mention of Jesus in the records of India, Tibet, or Britain from that period. Plus, the Gospels themselves paint a very different picture. Think about it. When Jesus finally starts his ministry, the people in his own hometown are stunned. They don't see some globe-trotting guru, they see the carpenter, the local guy, Mary's son, someone they thought they had all figured out. And that right there is the turning point. What if the real story isn't about where Jesus went, but why he stayed? What if the most powerful truth isn't buried in some lost manuscript, but was hiding in plain sight, in the silence itself? What if that silence wasn't empty at all, but was actually filled with purpose? The Bible gives us one single incredibly powerful clue about these 18 years. After that scene in the temple when he was 12, Luke tells us he went down to Nazareth with them and was obedient to them. And Jesus increased in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and man. That's it. No epic journeys to India, backpacking around looking for gurus. No secret training with mystics. Just a quiet life of growth, obedience, and work in a forgotten little village. And that simplicity, that's where the revolutionary truth is hiding. For those 18 years, Jesus was known as the carpenter. Now, the Greek word used here is tekton. It means something broader than woodworker. It means a builder, a craftsman, an artisan, someone who worked with their hands. That wasn't a minor detail, it was his job. Imagine him doing the hard physical work of his day, building houses, repairing fences, crafting yokes for oxen, making simple furniture. This wasn't a glamorous job. It was dusty, sweaty, and completely ordinary. In a world obsessed with public platforms and visible impact, God chose for His Son to spend almost all of His life in total obscurity. Think about that, 30 years of manual labor versus just 3 years of public ministry. He wasn't in a monastery or library, he was in the workshop, in the village. And at the family dinner table, he was fully immersed in the human experience. This wasn't a holding pattern, this was his preparation. By doing ordinary work, he made ordinary work holy. He was showing that holiness isn't just for the pulpit. It can be found in the sweat of your brow and the skill of your hands. There should be excellence in everything that you do. Every beam he shaped was an act of worship in a way. He was modeling that our daily mundane tasks can be offered to God as holy service and to glorify God. Through his submission to his parents, he learned obedience. The one who created the universe learned to honor his father and mother. Now, this is very important. This quiet obedience in the small moments was the foundation for his ultimate obedience on the cross. And Luke tells us he grew. He grew in wisdom, navigating real life challenges. He grew in stature, physically maturing from a boy into a man. He grew in favor with God and man, nurturing his relationship with his father and his community. He was fully human, and these years were his journey into the very heart of that humanity. He learned what it felt like to be tired after a long day's work and to feel the joy of a shared meal, for example. So, you see, this wasn't God hiding Jesus from the world, it was God preparing Jesus for the right time, to appear at the right moment to the world. It was a long, slow process of becoming a savior who didn't just understand our humanity in theory but had lived it. He was becoming a high priest who could truly sympathize with our weaknesses because he had been tested in every way and experienced life as we do in many instances today. Okay, so what does all this mean for you and me right now? This is where Jesus' hidden years deliver a profound message of hope. The truth is, a lot of us live in our own version of Nazareth, where we are in a season of waiting, perhaps, of quiet preparation, where it feels like nothing important is happening. We feel a little bit insignificant in the greater scheme of things. Maybe you are pouring your life into raising kids, which can feel like a cycle of repetitive, often thankless tasks. You might be caring for an aging parent, battling a long illness, or just trying to stay faithful when God feels distant. These are our hidden years. They are the chapters that don't make the highlight reel, for example. It's the time to learn to enjoy the small things in life. The journey itself is a form of service. It's not all about the finish line. In these seasons, it's so easy to feel insignificant, overlooked, or like our time is being wasted. We look at the world that celebrates noise and instant results, and we wonder if quiet faithfulness even matters. The 18 silent years of Jesus' life are God's thundering answer to that question. Yes, it matters more than you can possibly imagine. Your season of waiting is not wasted, period. It is your Nazareth. It is the workshop where God is shaping you. The faithfulness you show in those small, unseen, mundane tasks That's important. It's busy shaping you. That's the raw material God is using to build the foundation for whatever's next. The patience you learn when progress is slow, the integrity you maintain when no one's watching, these are the things that are forging your character. This is you, growing in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and man. Remember, the wisdom of Ecclesiastes said, "The race is not to the swift or the battle to the strong." This isn't about how fast you can get to the finish line or how popular you can become. It's about the steady, faithful pace you keep on the path God has for you and has planned for you. Think about this. God the Father was well pleased with his Son at his baptism. Before Jesus had performed a single public miracle or preached a single sermon, he was pleased with 30 years of quiet, humble obedience. He was pleased with a faithful carpenter from Nazareth. And of course, Jesus lived in perfect fear of the Lord. And in the exact same way, God sees your hidden life. He sees your quiet service and your patient endurance. He's not waiting for you to get on a stage to be pleased with you. Your faithfulness in your Nazareth right now is a fragrant offering to Him, your patience and your perseverance. The season isn't a divine mistake, it's a sacred, intentional time of preparation. The roots of your future impact are growing deep in the soil of this hidden season. God works in the silence, He builds in the obscurity. So it turns out the greatest story ever told has an 18-year intermission, and that's not an accident. It proves that the most important work God does in us from time to time is often the work that no one else sees. The silence wasn't a gap in the story, it was a foundational part of it. It shows us that obscurity isn't a sign of God's absence, but a sign of His preparation. So, if you're in a season of waiting, take heart. You are in good company. You are walking a path that Jesus Himself walked. Embrace your Nazareth. Trust the process. Know that your hidden years are seen, they are valued, and they are unimaginably significant in the hands of God. If this message encouraged you today, please share it with someone who might be in their own silent season. And I would love to read your thoughts in the comments below. What does the truth of Jesus' hidden years mean to you? I look forward to hearing from you. Be blessed.